And former U.S. Army Special Forces soldier Jim Hanson, along with Congressman Ronny Jackson. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining the program. Hanson, I'm going to go to you first. The president is in a peculiar situation right now. We got to get one of our service members home, but at the same time, we still have a war to fight as well. What does the president need to do right now if you were talking to him?
He's doing what he needs to do. I mean, obviously the military is well prepared to go ahead and do the rescue mission and find our pilot or find the Wizzo and bring him home. But President Trump can't let that distract from the fact that overall he has to finish the mission of destroying all of Iran's air defenses and the rest of it, taking care of the uranium and the nuclear weapons and our nuclear capabilities, and then opening the Strait of Hormuz. He's not going to let that fall apart. And I think that's something that it may sound a little bit cold, but the president's job is to finish the strategic mission. The military is going to put all their assets and strength towards taking care of that rear seat officer.
Congressman, do you think we're going to get members from the other side of the aisle to support the commander-in-chief? We're at war right now. They just attacked one of our own.
Yeah, I wish I could tell you they would, Lawrence, but honestly, I do not think that they will, no matter what. Anything that Trump's involved in, no matter what the other circumstances are, even having Americans in harm's way right now and having a downed pilot, in harm's way right now, this is not enough to bring them around. They will not. I'm ashamed of the fact that they will not come and side with the rest of the Americans and come and unite in a time like this. But I honestly, Lawrence, I'm embarrassed and I'm ashamed of the way the Democrats have behaved throughout this entire situation, and I don't think this is going to change anything for them.
Jim, part of the strategy from the Iranians, and they've made it very clear, is that the Strait is designed to put economic pressure on the president so he leaves the battlefield. Does the president need to, before we declare victory completely, and by the way, we've already taken out a lot of the leaders, and so there's some victory with that, as the president would say that there has been some regime change already to take place. But does the Strait need to be open before we declare ultimate victory?
I think that would be ideal, but it's not vital. Taking care of the nuclear capabilities is the #1 thing. Having open trade and full maritime shipping capabilities through the Strait is something the president rightly pointed out matters a lot more to the Gulf Arab states and their customers for the oil, a lot of whom are in Europe. So I think it's time for the NATO allies to consider whether they've been acting as allies in this effort, and to realize that the fact that Iranian missiles can reach their capitals might want to focus their minds a little bit and get them in the game. They've been sitting on the sidelines and not even letting us use their bases. That's unacceptable.
Congressman, is there going to be some pressure from Congress? I mean, I understand that the Senate is responsible for treaties and ratifying them, but there has to be some pressure when they're supposed to be our friends. I never thought that it would be the Gulf states fighting side by side with us and the Europeans standing on the sideline. We finally have this vital moment where the Muslim and the Arab world is conquering radical Islamic terrorism with us, and the Europeans are nowhere to be found.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There has to be some consideration in the bigger picture of what's going on with NATO based on what's happening here. I would hope that they would step up at some point and actually start trying to protect the straits, because I think it's, as Jim said, it's in their best interest, and I think they ultimately would do that. But where have they been so far, right? Where have they been? And I am proud of our Arab allies in Bahrain and UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, across the board. They have been great allies in all of this, and they have been receiving end of a lot of these ballistic missiles and drones, and yet they have stood their ground and stood shoulder to shoulder with us because they recognize the horrible threat that Iran represents to the entire region, and the Europeans better step up and understand the threat that this represents to the entire world, including Europe. The Iranians can reach out and touch Europe anytime they want. It's in their best interest to help us finish this and finish it for good. So I hope they see the light.
Jim, if they don't show up for this event before it's over, I mean, we're on the clock right now. It's ticking. If they don't show up, is this an end to NATO?
I don't think this by itself would be an end to NATO, but I think there's a reckoning that's been due for a while. You know, they don't share many of our values. They censor free speech. They've allowed migrants to take over their countries. They're not really the best allies and the people we stood side by side with to stop the Soviet Union. So we need to look at whether our interests are best served by an alliance with people who not only won't help us, but may not share our best interests. Now, that doesn't mean NATO should go away, but it sure means we should reconsider whether our blood and treasure are worth putting alongside their interests if they value that less than we do.
I just hope we take the warning as well. Part of the reason why the Europeans are so resistant to join in is because their population has changed. They invited a reorganizing of their country, and they're afraid of upsetting a certain population within their country. America should take warning, because the same thing could happen to us as well. Congressman Jim.
And I'll tell you, Lawrence.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to tell you also, we got to be careful because we share our intelligence with them, and we arm them and share our weapon systems with them. And at some point, we have to rethink that, because you're right, things are rapidly changing in Europe and not for the best.
Hopefully it changes soon. They learn from their flawed ways. Congressman Jim, thanks so much for joining the program.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.